If you want to build a business that runs itself, you're going to need an incredible team behind the scenes to do a lot of that work that you used to be doing. And believe it or not, all that starts with job descriptions. So whether you're hiring or whether you're hiring now or whether you're hiring way in the future, or if you've got an established team, you have to have good job descriptions. So I want to talk about the 3 things that I go through when I'm making a really clear job description. It's going to lead to really high performance from the team. When you want to build a winning team, there's a few areas that you want to start with. So the first one is what I would call functional. Now, the functional part of your job description, this is like, what do you deliver in return for getting your paycheck, right? Everybody is hired to do something. They're hired to deliver some sort of outcome, whether that's more sales for the business or to save money for the business or to create more efficiency and time inside of the business. You're hired to actually do something. And so the thing that I like to think about whenever I'm thinking through what is this functional reason that this person is being hired is I think about winning outcomes. In fact, one of my favorite questions to ask myself when I'm writing a job description is, what does winning look like? If this person comes in a year from now, they've knocked it out of the park, they've essentially won, we're thrilled. What did they do for me? Maybe they need to add 4 new accounts each quarter if they're in a sales role, or maybe they need to manage installs for the business with 90% efficiency rating. Stuff like that. Like, what is the actual outcome that they're going to solve? Another way to think about this is, what problems will they solve inside of the business, right? So think about the role in terms of problems that they see, and the person in that role who is an expert in it is responsible for seeing problems and then solving them. Even something like an executive assistant role, for example, their job is to spot problems. People, conflicts on the calendar, people who haven't confirmed. These are all problems that come up. And as an executive assistant, you're responsible for knowing how to solve those problems. So step number 1 is the functional aspect of the job. What are the winning outcomes of this role? Step number 2 is what I call behavior. This will differ slightly for each role, and it will also differ slightly from organization to organization because teams have different approaches for doing these things. When I'm thinking about behavior, I like to think about winning actions. So winning actions are things that you have to do to create the functional outcome in a way that that satisfies the goal and also works within your company culture and goals and things like that. So there's a lot of winning actions can be transferable from job to job, business to business. A few that I use over and over are these. So communication skills is one. I ran a virtual organization for a number of years, and it was critical that they had very clear communication skills. If they didn't, it could set us back days just going back and forth over long distances, stuff like that. So communication skills is almost always at the top of my list. They might need time management or project management skills, something of that nature. They might need analytical skills. If they're working in a highly analytical environment, they need to be really comfortable with numbers, comfortable with making decisions based on numbers, not scared off by numbers, that's for sure. Procedure oriented is one that I often use. If somebody is procedure oriented, they understand the value of procedures. They're going to actually follow them. They understand the importance of them, even if it's not the most convenient way to do things. If you don't have a team of people who are procedure oriented, you'll often have a team of people just roaming around doing their own stuff, and you'll wonder why none of your processes are ever followed. So that's a behavior that can be important. Goal oriented. This is one of my favorite ones because somebody who's goal-oriented can sit higher in the organization. You can give them bigger, meatier tasks, and a goal-oriented person knows how to break those tasks down into smaller chunks and start achieving those smaller chunks over time. And finally, profit oriented is another one that I use higher up in the organization or in a smaller organization. When somebody's profit oriented, they understand that money comes from someplace. And at the end of it, you need something left over in the business, or you haven't actually created any additional value. And so someone who's profit oriented is really used to thinking about margins, costs. They're really efficient, all that stuff. These are just a few of the behaviors. But when I'm thinking through a role, we've talked about the functional, what are the winning outcomes? The behaviors is how do they achieve those outcomes? What are they doing it in a way that works for our organization? And the third area that I think about when I'm trying to create a really good, clear job where the team can win, even if I'm not on the field, is qualifications. Now, unfortunately, most job descriptions start and end with qualifications. Here, I use it actually last. This is the last part of the thing that I think about. And when I talk about qualifications, I like to think of it as winning skills. And the reason that I like to do it last is because this is not what defines if somebody is going to win in the role or not. What actually defines if they're going to win in the role or not is the functional thing. Do they have what it takes to create the winning outcomes that my business needs? First and foremost, that is the most important thing. Once I know that somebody is able to achieve those winning outcomes, then I want to know, will they achieve them with those winning actions? Are they able to do it in the environment of my business and what works for me? And then finally, once I've checked those two boxes on somebody, then I can start looking at winning skills. And winning skills can be stuff really specific to the role. Do they need to know Photoshop really well? Do they need to be a really good video editor? Do they need to understand chemical manufacturing process because they're in product development in a business where that's really important? And so that's where qualifications can come in. What most businesses do wrong is they do it the exact opposite. They look at qualifications and then they look for people who check the only other box on their spreadsheet, which is available. So if you want to build a business that runs itself, you need a good team who can move the ball down the field without you. And if you want that team who can move the ball down the field without you, it starts with job descriptions. So whether you're hiring now, go through this process. If you're not hiring now, go through this process for people that are on your team. I recommend starting with kind of the front line people on the team first, because those tend to be a little bit easier to create these for. But every single person on your team needs a winning job description, or you can't have a winning team or a business that runs itself. You want to know more about this? You want to work with me to build your winning team? Find me at sharpbusinessgrowth.com. Click the Let's Talk button. Tell me about your business.